why.
What the
Why is that
hell
such a
was
big
that?
deal? We gonna be crying, bro. like you be crying. I be crying out there. I don't even be wanting to cry. Like, what's up, y'all? I'm Marion.
And I'm Monique.
And welcome to the Scared But Ready podcast, a mother and son podcast where we talk about mental health and things that we're interested in.
So thank you guys for tuning in to our second episode. Today we're going to be discussing a little about Marion. Basically, who he was as a child. When the shift started happening, what was happening in his life when that shift started. Because we did have a conversation the other day prior to this podcast, and I asked him a question, and he started talking about feelings. He started identifying like things that was going on inside of him. So I'm just curious to know if when that started as a young boy, so we can kind of since he knows already and he can identify when, possibly help someone else, another younger Marion out here in the world, pay more attention to the different things that's going on in their bodies, which could possibly be leading down the road to, mental struggles. So with that, I'm going to just start off by asking you, Marion, tell me, what was your life like, as a young boy? And also, just feel free to talk how you feel, and also just curious to know, at what point did you started to notice like a shift inside of you?
I'm from Brooklyn, so all of this was around the same time when I was around in Brooklyn. I was around, I can't remember what age I was, but this was around the end of my junior year of high school. Like I said, most of my work was done. I was getting into the stage where I was beginning to accept that I'd be going to college in the next year. And I was never a outwardly outgoing, like friendly type of person. Like I would normally keep to myself, but I had friends. I had a lot of friends. But I'm also more of a person that would like to keep a small circle of true friends that I would speak to. But I was cool with everybody in high school. Like everybody knew me, and we would always talk. Like we would always laugh and stuff. I was always the class clown. But I always got my work done on time. I always put 100% into every assignment that I did, and I started to see a slow and steady decline in that, where I would rather go home and jump on my PS4 than tackle my work first and then play after. I believe that was like the beginning stages of my video game addiction. But I would rather go home and just do anything else but my work. And I was trying to figure out at the time, like why it is that I'm acting like this. And it wasn't until around this time where I'm starting to get more and more in tune with my actual feelings and trying to actually figure out what it is that I was feeling back then, or what it is that I'm feeling right now. But more of those difficulties began to arise around the same time. I started to get a heavy feeling on me that something wasn't right. I would always feel like something in me is changed, and I didn't know what it was, and it was affecting a lot of what I was doing, and I couldn't put my finger on it for a really long time, and I still don't even have a full picture, but I knew something was changing. And even in the beginning stages, I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. I just felt uncomfortable. And it was like a constant discomfort, whether it be in a social setting, when I'm trying to get my thoughts together, like writing.
So basically, up until, from as far early as you can remember, up until like your senior year in high school is when you started having these feelings. of like uneasiness? Because I remember you working with a really close friend of mine at that time, to help you process. This was prior to senior year, if I'm not mistaken. She was helping you process a lot of things that was going on with you. Um, do you think that those things that she was helping you with was anything, in hindsight, looking back, was it just regular problems, that children go through, or do you think that it could have also been the start of your your mental health journey?
I don't really remember it being a very personal dialogue between me and that person. Uh, I really remember more of her trying to help me with my academic work and helping me stay focused on and also opening the door to a lot of different academic opportunities. Um, but I think more, I think that was more around the time where I wasn't comfortable with talking about my feelings, and I was more dead set on doing it myself. And that person opened up the opportunity for me to talk to her if I ever had the urge, but I never did. I wasn't thinking this at the time, but this is how I think currently, as to why I haven't been opening up recently, and it's more because I don't feel that it's fair that I should look at someone and ask them for a solution that I've been dealing with for so long that I can't find. It's not an easy fix. It's not something that you can just I can tell you and you can just give me something back and I'm just gonna be like, oh, that's what it was. So if I just do this, then it's not that it's I don't believe it's ever gonna be that simple. Um, so it was more that I was trying to deal with it myself and try to unpack everything and try to take it step by step, um, rather than opening up and speaking to someone about something that I feel wouldn't reach a solution that would satisfy me.
So now, as an adult, is that something that you see differently?
That's more of my standpoint right now because I'm actively trying to unpack everything. But back in that time, I was ignorant to the um, to what my future mental state would become. I just thought maybe it was I was uncomfortable with the fact that I was going to be going to college, or I was just going through what they call senior slump, because that's what people called it back then. It was just like, oh, I'm a senior now, so I don't feel like doing my work, and I bought into that fact. But I feel that it was deeper than that because I was never one to be impressionable about my environment. It was very easy for me to separate my environment from my internal feelings, and around that time is where that started to shift, where I started to become more reactive to my environment.
Mm. Um, because I mean, I guess for everybody just to know, Marion was the valedictorian in his school. He worked very, very hard, and he graduated valedictorian from his high school. And whatever it is that he was feeling in regards to his education during the last year, he still did great. Like, in order for you to be the valedictorian, it starts from your freshman year all the way through to your senior year. So while I'm sure, because that's what he's saying, that's when that shift kind of started in his senior year. um I mean, I felt it was okay for him to, like, with Marion and my daughter, Latrell, who you're gonna eventually meet. Like, they did so well in school that, at a certain point in time, I'm just like, they can go on and fend for themselves. So I'm basically saying that to say that, I think that whatever Marion, and I want him to speak on this as well, whatever it was he was feeling about, like, this senior slump, and that he wasn't really putting his all into his work, If he really felt like that was, and I think he did speak on it a little bit, like that's what he, and then the fact that he started, um, and Marion, you gonna correct me if I misunderstood what you're saying, but like started feeling the pressure from your friends when normally he didn't, things like that didn't bother him. So I'm
No,
saying
not exactly.
no.
No.
Okay, so tie all of that stuff together if you can, and then
Um,
with the feelings and stuff that you were having, try to be more specific on what you was feeling on the inside, if you can.
mm, um, it's hard to get the full scope when I can't really remember every detail.
Mm-hmm.
I also I share the regard that it didn't seem as bad as I felt because like my mom said, I was still staying very afloat in school. Like I was like she said, I graduated valedictorian and I was doing my work, but I didn't see the issue as becoming an actual issue until my schoolwork just started to decline, and that wasn't until the beginning of college. Um, so these feelings didn't fully resonate with me until around that time, but in that beginning stage is really the only real thing I remember feeling is discomfort. Is like a constant discomfort, but it wasn't even very exaggerated. Like it was to the point where it was like a subconscious thing. Like I could live my life in the present. I could chill. Like I never had any anxiety or like real depression. Um, at the time, I mean, I was depressed about certain things, just like anybody is in life. But there was never any overarching like crippling negative feelings that I had. But it was just like a slight discomfort that I had in the back of my mind that I knew was there, but I could only bring light to it when I thought about it, when I brought conscious thought to it. I had never failed a class, and as soon as I went to college, I failed my first class entirely. I failed.
And right, and that stuff led on to other things that we're going to get to a little later on. But so the purpose of this podcast, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
The purpose of this podcast was basically for everybody to kind of, so I wanted people to kind of get a feel. I wanted the youth to kind of know what they can be on the lookout for, right? Everybody gets different symptoms and signs at different times in their lives. But like I said, our purpose, Marion and Marion's purpose and my purpose is to try to focus more so on, the young adult stage. So this is why this is why we're doing what we're doing. So I mean, basically, just to wrap this podcast up, this is why I started the business, because self-care is realizing what's going on inside, being able to say something is wrong, like I'm not feeling right. That's self-care, and then doing something about it. So I'm happy that he was able to pinpoint when it started to happen. And it's important for all of us to be able to do that. And in order for you to be able to do that, you have to be in tune with your body. Because, all right, so your mind is something else, right? We're going to talk about that a little later on as well. But, it's being in tune with your body, knowing when there's a shift, when something is happening on a daily basis, right? Wanting to reach out for help, feeling comfortable reaching out for help. And so I feel like diving into Marion's brain will help us to kind of understand, and kind of bring some results to some of what's going on. Marion, you have any last words?
Yeah, I mean, if I could say anything, you spoke on before that everyone gets different symptoms, and just like you said, I think the first step is always self-awareness. Like, you have to be aware of the feelings that you have. And I believe part of my issue before is the fact that I would rather feel numb than to feel these negative emotions. So I tried to like push them down, and yeah, they bottled up and exploded. But that was a rare occurrence. It was more taking a toll on my own mental health than it was me exploding on other people. But just even if you're not the type of person like I was in the past, I wasn't the type of person to need to speak to someone to feel relief.
And when you say someone, who's that? Like, what is that someone? A therapist, your parents, who is that?
Someone just means anyone that you feel comfortable with.
Okay.
So it doesn't, like, you don't have to go out tomorrow and find a therapist because you want to speak to someone. Like, anyone that you trust, that you can trust with your true feelings, that you can have a conscious and a purposeful dialogue with. That's enough just to talk about like regular stuff. Just noticing any differing or conflicting or overwhelming feelings is just a good practice to start with. If I could share anything.
Agreed. So this brings us to the end of this episode. If you had any questions or comments or anything positive that you would like to share, or something that Marion can actually help you with, if he's been through that and wants to offer that assistance, definitely feel free to comment, because we're going to share the podcast, with Spotify and everybody or whomever, and also upload these videos to YouTube and give you guys the opportunity to comment. So with that, I guess that's a wrap, right? And thank everybody for watching, and we'll talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Bye.